Howdy, riders. Welcome back to another action-packed episode of Ride Between the Wines. In this episode, I'm going all the way to Tuscany, virtually, to speak with Antonio Zaccheo about his family's winery, Carpineto. Delicious stuff. Very exciting to get to talk to him. And then later in the episode, I'm speaking with Chef Jessica Shillato, who is the chef and the proprietor of Spotted Salamander Catering / at this point, Spotted Salamander Restaurant. Awesome local restaurant here in Colombia. So, buckle up. Let's ride.
The world we live in is an amazing one, full of passion, wonderment, and of course, fine wine. This is the story of one man's journey to fully understand and appreciate that world. So kick the tires and light the fires. It's time to ride between the wines.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ride Between the Wines. Very special episode today. All the way from Montepulciano, we have Antonio Zaccheo from Carpineto Wines, which you can kind of see in the background, his the banner there. But good morning.
Right there.
There it is.
Buongiorno.
Wait, what time is it in Montepulciano?
So right now it's 2 p.m. So we just had a nice bowl of pasta and espresso, and we're ready to roll.
I love it. That sounds fantastic. Well, so let's just kind of start off. I will say that for people who've been watching the podcast, I actually had Stefano Francini in the car with me. And I'll probably link to this episode because I think we talked a little bit about this winery in general. But that's something that everybody else can watch. But in general, you're such an important, cool Tuscan winery. Can you tell me a little bit about, your father, who got it started and why, and kind of take me through the timeline a little bit?
Sure. So, so Carpineto is actually two families that were founded Carpineto back in 1967. So it's my father and our chief winemaker. So our chief winemaker, his family is from up in the Italian Alps, province of Belluno, so north of Venice, about an hour and a half. Okay. He comes from up there. Studied winemaking at the Conegliano School of Enology in the 60s, which back then was probably the most prestigious of wine schools in Italy and still is today. And then he moved south because he wanted to make red wine. My father, well, we come from a long lineage of farming, but not in Tuscany, in Puglia. Okay. And so slowly over the years we've been moving north.
Okay. So in 1950, you guys are moving together.
Yes. In 1950, my grandfather started a little winery near Rome, and then in 1967, my father, with Giancarlo Sacchetti, started Carpineto. And those were times in which the sharecropping that had been in vogue for centuries had just fallen apart after World War II. And so the countryside, the Tuscan countryside, but all over Italy, the countryside was basically empty. People were flocking into the cities, wanting to work in the industry, in the banks, because they were better paying and also less work, physical work anyways. And so, as my father said, we were able to buy this little piece of land at auction from the church for 2 pennies. And the issue was that we barely had 2 pennies to scrape together because the whole country was not doing that well in that time. And so it's fun because my father always recollects when he was driving around looking for a good vineyard site. That you could buy, imagine this, you could buy 100 acres of vineyards, planted vineyards, with a castle that of course needed a lot of fixing, for the price of a nice Italian car, and for the price of an Alfa Romeo, not a Ferrari, an Alfa Romeo. You could buy a castle with 100 acres. The problem is we only had the price of a little Fiat. So for us, we had to make do with a falling down building and 30 acres in a very good position, however, and so that's where Carpineto started, and it's been you know, fun ever since.
I would say if my timeline is right, you know, Carpineto this is started back in a time when Chianti was not considered a high quality product. It was more of a volume over, you know, quantity over quality. Is that accurate?
Right. No, that's exactly right. That was the whole purpose for moving there of these two young guys in the early 20s was, you know, to because they were convinced and they had already had a little experience that one could make a great bottle of wine out of Sangiovese that was much more interesting than, you know, the fiasco wine. That,
right, exactly.
The name is a program in itself, right? The one that came in the straw covered. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, was very romantic and of course served the purpose for you know, recycling the glass because you could fill it 100 times. But obviously, the quality of those wines was not interesting. But then again, in the 50s and 60s, what wine was excellent? You know, back then it was all about calories. You know, wine was considered calories. You know, just a different calorie than olive oil or a piece of cheese or whatever. And so everybody would produce, you know, with the concept being quantity and not quality. It was the Tuscan Renaissance that well, Carpineto was part of, but there were many more, and throughout Italy as well, that brought quality to the wine world. I mean, even in California in the 60s, yeah, I mean, the wine was decent, but you know, people were making hearty Burgundy, Mountain Chablis, and Champagne and Chianti and all of those things. So I mean, it was a different world of wine. Wine was a different world back then. Thank God we've had this renaissance throughout the world. Actually, we're excited about that.
And so taking us a little further towards today, so you all make not just Chianti Classico, Gran Selezione will have, you're also big Brunello producers as well. Is that accurate?
Yes, so the goal of these founding fathers was to make Sangiovese in all the classic appellations of Tuscany. And so we started in Chianti Classico. We soon thereafter went down to Vino Nobile, and then on to Brunello. And we also have an estate in Maremma. In total, we run about 1,200 acres, all sustainably farmed. And we are proud to say we're actually a carbon positive winery, meaning that we absorb more than we emit into the atmosphere. And that's something we've worked very hard to achieve and something we're very proud of.
Oh, that's fantastic. I completely forgot about your Vino Nobile. Your Vino Nobile is fantastic. That's one of my favorites, actually. It doesn't jump to mind, but yeah. Well, to the conversation of the carbon footprint and all that, like I know, what are some of those other, I hate to say buzzwords that you guys are hitting? Like I know that some of your wines are vegan friendly.
Yes, well now we're not particularly friendly to vegans because none of us in the winery are, because you know, the sheep and of course all the cows around us you know get eaten. I mean, we're sorry, but that's life. But nevertheless, yes, our wines are vegan friendly because we make them without any animal proteins because it's just a better wine that you're making like this. And yeah, it's a little slower process, but we have no problem taking our time because our specialty at the end of the day, besides Dogaiolo, which is a young wine, you know, the majority of our wines are all wines that are released, you know, 3, 5, 6 years after the harvest. You know, like Brunello, we're in 15 right now. Vino Nobile, we're moving to 16. I mean, that's life. In Tuscany, we make long aging wines, so we can take our time. We don't have to rush it, and we can just let wines, you know, stabilize naturally, and you know, and do all the right things.
Well, that's good. Well, that's great. Well, since you mentioned Dogaiolo, can we talk about it and taste it a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So the wine that we're talking about is this guy right here. So this is a wine. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful. So this is a wine that was invented for a wine shop chain in Germany. And it went like this. This is 35 years ago. The owner of the wine shop came to us and said, hey, you know, we love selling your Brunello, your Vino Nobile, your Farnito Cabernet, your Chianti, Classico Riserva. But, you know, the Germans drink those wines only on the weekend. But, you know, Germans, much like Americans and Italians, they drink wine every day, right? Almost. Unless somebody's got a flu, you know, you're drinking wine. Why not?
Yeah.
And
I certainly try my best.
Yeah, well, us too. It's part of our happiness program. But essentially, so they said, how come you can't make, you know, an everyday drinking wine? And so we put our head to it and we scratched our head and we said, hey, we got a lot of vineyards. We got younger vineyards. We got places that make beautiful fruit. And you know, we can do it. And so we gave it 6 months in oak, Sangiovese, and a little Cabernet, and the rest is history. It's been a wine that's been widely successful. We send it to 70 countries around the world. You can say that is really a wine that has been very important for us because it's the wine that takes now, you know, because we obviously we make 30 different wines, and many of them are important wines: Brunello, Vino Nobile Riserva, Chianti Riserva, our single vineyards, Gran Selezione, Farnito, Cab, and you know, as if we need, you know, 5,000 cases of one wine, we got organized to make 10,000 cases, because we know we have a good place for these quote unquote leftovers, and that is Dogaiolo. So it gets really premium vineyards, you know, throughout all our dry farm hillside vineyards in Tuscany. So Dogaiolo, the name Doga, the first 4 letters, means stave. So Dogaiolo, because it jumps out of the stave. It's a wine that spends 6 months in oak, and therefore the name, and therefore also the label. That is also the color of the woods that are surrounding the vineyards right now in the fall when this wine goes into the barrels. And so that's why this package, and that's why this name. So the Sangiovese, of course, brings in the beautiful red fruit flavors, cherries, currants, and also a nice floral character that will be more evident in the next wine we talk about. And then the Cabernet brings in black fruits, you know, blackberries, you know, black pepper, and then the quick passage in oak, because it spent 6 months there. In not new oak, it rounds out the tannins and makes it a nice, you know, good complexity. Well-rounded package of wine, which is soft, is supple, and in the Italian tradition, you know, now of course, you know, we went from the fiasco, right, where that was the only wine one would have on the dinner table. You know, whether you were having aperitivo, then antipasto, and then the first, the second, dessert, there was only Chianti on the table. Well, Dogaiolo is designed to be exactly that, a wine that can go from your cold cuts as appetizers to pasta with tomatoes to a grilled chicken as a second dish, and all the way up to a chocolate cake, you know, for dessert. So it's one of those wines that has a great flexibility, but also with, say, Peking duck, say, with a nice beef burrito. I mean, the possibilities are endless with this.
Well, so I'll tell you for a couple of reasons, but a lot of ones that you've touched on. This wine is my Thanksgiving holidays wine. One, because just as you said, there is not a more fall leaves looking package, just like you said, how it looks right now. So I've always loved the background. It makes me think of fall, but also, you know, when we get into Thanksgiving, you know, everybody asks me, what wine do you pair with Thanksgiving? But Thanksgiving dinner has got a million different elements to it. You know, you got, if you have your cranberry sauce versus obviously the turkey itself, stuffing, everybody has fattening, this or that. And this is just such a great catch-all wine. Like, I think that no matter what you're eating, just like you say, it just goes well for the table. Yeah.
And it's complex enough that even, you know, the sophisticated wine drinker can, you know, is appealing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy going enough that even a wine novice will take to this wine, because it's just really just an easy going, very flexible glass of wine. And Thanksgiving, yes, I mean, obviously. So my brother-in-law is American, so we celebrate Thanksgiving as well. So and with the raspberry and the sauce and the stuffings and all of that fun stuff. And yeah, we do Dogaiolo as well.
Well, we're not tasting it, but I also think a great white for Thanksgiving is the other Dogaiolo, which is the Carpineto Chardonnay blend. Can you tell me like a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this one comes from a vineyard in also on our Montepulciano estate, our Vino Nobile estate, and it is planted to these three grape varieties. So the Chardonnay brings in body, the Sauvignon Blanc brings in nice aromatics, and the Grechetto, which is a local grape, brings in a nice mineral character. So it's all stainless steel fermentation, and then assembled and bottled, you know, just fresh, crisp, good fruit. It's just with good freshness, you know, acidity. So it's great. I mean, somebody that likes seafood, you know, Japanese, for example, that's my go-to wine for that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's delicious. I love it. All right. Well, let's move into. So, Chianti Classico, Gran Selezione. What is this? 3 years ago that Gran Selezione has been around? Pretty recent, right?
Yeah, it's recent, less than a decade. I forget the exact year that it was started. But basically, the rules are like the Riserva, only that it needs to have an extra 6 months of aging, and it has to be all proprietary grapes, which our Reserva already is. But nevertheless, it is, in our case, we have one vineyard, which was the original vineyard that we bought from the church. In fact, it is the one closest to the little chapel there, Vigneto La Pieve. And so we just make 5,000-6,000 bottles only in vineyard, in vintages that are 5-star vintages. Now, obviously, 2015 that we're talking about in this case, it is a 5-star
vintage. Yeah.
And you know, it's quite special. The bottle has a handmade paper label stamped over an old Gutenberg style press.
Okay.
And then it's labeled by hand, which is not something the bottling line enjoys very much, but thankfully it's not so many bottles, you know, for this, and it's 100% Sangiovese. So that's really is the culmination for us of essentially a lifelong effort, work. It contains all of our knowledge, all of our research, all in that vineyard site that has been replanted about a quarter century ago with good clones, and, you know, doing a study. And it's basically our best Sangiovese from Chianti Classico.
Now, were you already, as you guys have a lot of estate fruit, were you already making a wine like this, and then you just were able to flip over and start, you know, applying for Gran Selezione immediately?
Yeah, well, we could have, but we waited for a 5-star vintage. So we wanted to, the vintages we've done so far are 15 and 16. that is also about to be released.
Oh, this is your very first vintage of Gran Selezione?
This is our very first vintage, yes.
I didn't realize that.
Because we wanted to wait until, you know, we were firing on all 12 cylinders in this case, and so with a turbo as well. And so we waited and waited, and you know, it's a wine that's unfiltered, unfined. It's really a special bottle, and it's a bottle that you can lay down for, I don't know, for your grandkids, really. And it's a testament to the fact that Sangiovese really is one of the wonderful grape varieties of the world.
It really is.
And it's like any of those grape varieties of the world. They can make a very poor wine, you know, and we have examples of that, much less now, but in our history, to awesomeness, absolute paradise wine.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely amazing. This is definitely a testament to everything that you guys have done over there. Yeah. You mentioned that it's unfined and unfiltered. Is that a standard practice with wines at these level over there? Or is that a decision that you guys just think makes the wine better? Or?
Well, it's the same reason why we don't use any animal proteins. It just makes the wine better. Yeah, it makes it so that it maintains, you know, that fleshy character. Takes much longer to do this process, but all of our top wines are made in this fashion. You know, including, you know, even the Vino Nobile Riserva, the Chianti Riserva, our Farnito Cabernet Sauvignon are all made like this.
Well, it's delicious. I know I've kept you for a minute. I want to ask maybe one more question, and then I'm going to let you get out of here. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the estates that you guys own versus, you know, what you might buy. Like, you're making amazing wines, like you say, from every important DOCG that does Sangiovese. Are these different estates, the vineyards themselves, that you all have acquired over the years, or are they long contracts with growers? What is?
No, so we have 5 estates.
Okay.
So they are ours, and they supply almost all of our fruit needs. But
okay.
You know, Italy is a very complicated place. Buying property takes time, and it's not always easy because, you know, generations are difficult to manage here. So what we do have then is long-term agreements. So we won't buy spot grapes anywhere. We won't buy grapes from our neighbor unless we can control it over the long term, because we want to manage the vineyard. We don't want just the fruit. We want to. We are control freaks, and so we want to be in charge of all the production factors that go into our wine. So we will manage the vineyards. In some cases, we will actually run these vineyards with our own tractors because they are all nearby. And so that's the only condition in which we will take fruit. And then obviously, as we've done over the last 55 years, as an opportunity comes up to buy those vineyards, and they often do, then we're saving our pennies and we go and acquire that property. We always acquire a property that we know. We always buy a vineyard we know. You know, we don't like surprises.
That's fun. Well, that leads me into the last question I was going to ask you, which is, is there anything out there that's coming next for you all? Do you have your eyes on something already, or?
Listen, I mean, this is, of course, Tuscany is a very complex place. There is always a vineyard you may have an eye on in your dreams when you fall asleep at night. Some people may dream of their new Ferrari, or but us farmers, we don't dream about Ferraris. We dream about how cool it would be to be able to farm that vineyard and make a nice single vineyard from that little piece of dirt. Those are the things we get excited about. Well, and a new tractor, of course.
Yeah, new tractor, of course. Well, thank you so much for meeting me this morning or this afternoon. The wines are delicious. Guys, on the next segment, we're going to be with somebody who will talk about some of the wines that they're selling, so where you can find some of this stuff. But again, great wines year-round, definitely right now. And Sangiovese, the world's perfect pairing wine. I don't know what to tell you. All right, well, have a great day. Buonasera. I appreciate it. Ciao.
Salute.
Salute.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Ride Between the Wines. I know that you just got off seeing this amazing interview and tasting with the Carpineto wines, and we talked about the Dogagliolo wines, and the Dogagliolo wines are actually going to be available through the Thanksgiving season with your Thanksgiving orders if you get catering through Spotted Salamander, which brings me to Jessica, my guest today. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I like that this is the slowest possible time that I can get with you, and there's still people running around and all this stuff. You guys are probably getting in gear for catering big time right now, right?
We are. We're stocking up.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope it goes well. I'm excited. And we are filming this on November 2nd, so right after Halloween and jumping right into Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. But let's just jump right in. Take 5. Question number 1 is called Cornucopia. And this is probably a tough question to answer because everybody on their Thanksgiving table has got a whole slew of different things that we're all in love with. And the fact that it's chilly outside gets me into comfort food, exciting about this anyways. But if you had to pick, what is your favorite thing that's going to be on your Thanksgiving table?
Mashed potatoes.
Regular potatoes, sweet potatoes?
Just regular, good, really good, like perfect mashed potatoes. They have to be perfect. Lots and lots of butter, cream, not milk,
Yeah.
And then gravy, of course. You gotta have some gravy on there, so that's almost 2 things. But
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask. What is perfect, and do you do gravy? And you answered both of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I love perfect mashed potatoes.
And you guys have perfect mashed potatoes as part of your...
We do. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll probably put up a catering menu here in a second towards the end of this so you can see some of the fun things. So you can call up and... Wait, while before I forget to ask, what's the cutoff for how late somebody can order if they want to pick up the week of Thanksgiving?
2 days before Thanksgiving, so that Tuesday.
And everything is picked up on the Wednesday?
Everything will be picked up on Wednesday afternoon.
Perfect.
You can do curbside and we'll bring it right out to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had your curbside for lunch very recently, and or dinner, I guess, I don't know when. But you pull up and, like, seriously, you guys just walk right out. You knew my red Corolla and we were there, so love it. All right, question number 2. This is called Story Time. And I just want to know, over your years in the restaurant industry, or specifically at Spotted, you got to have a million funny stories. Can you give me one of your favorites?
Oh gosh, there's really a whole lot. We always try to be funny here, so anytime we get a chance to do something stupid, we do. Like,
awesome.
One time we were changing the big fluorescent lights, and the ones we have in the kitchen are like 7 feet long. They're ridiculously long.
Uh-huh.
And so then we took out, the burnt ones, and then the servers went outside and they were
lightsaber battling
with like 7-foot fluorescent tubes. And that was just one of the many.
I feel like you can only lightsaber battle once with them, right? And that's totally
totally worth it. Yeah.
Well, I love it. That's a great restaurant story. I've done the exact same thing in my restaurant in the past. Yeah. Ours is, I'm a guy, so we're stupider. So instead of lightsaber battles, it usually turns into just hitting each other in the legs and seeing who can take it. Don't do this at home,
No,
but maybe do. I don't know.
Maybe safety goggles.
Yeah. I love it. Great one. Question number 3. It's the best of times. It's the worst of times. Mm-hmm. This is an extremely appropriate time to ask this question, although I could ask it most times. But how are the hardships of, running a restaurant or any local business is always extremely tough, but I know at the moment it's getting worse. How are you guys faring, and what are you doing to get your way through?
Drinking. No, I'm just kidding.
No, she's not. That's what we do on this podcast.
No, it is hard. You just kind of muddle through, I guess. It's like some days is worse than others, and it kind of depends on actually how the customer base is acting that day, honestly. Kind of affects us all when everybody's so rude, which is happening a lot.
Yeah.
Which is understandable because things are different. But we just try to come to work every day and smile and hope we're here tomorrow. So,
Well, that's all you can do.
that's all we
I
can
hope
do.
so.
Just keep going and hope there's an end soon,
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Yeah, I think there will be. You're like I mentioned, your to-go business seems to be doing well,
Yeah,
which is
it's keeping.
got to be a
Yeah.
great.
The to-go's keeping us afloat, thank goodness. So
Well, good. Hopefully, it won't be that way for long.
I hope not.
Got it neat. Question number 4. Give the devil his due. I don't know if you had any idea this question was coming, but I need to know, and if you haven't eaten here before, the deviled eggs are a huge part of it's an ever-changing feature. Come in, ask what the deviled egg of the day is. Delicious. My question to you is, 1, what is the absolute best deviled egg? And 2, you don't have to have made this, but what would you say is the worst thing you've seen on a deviled egg or preparation of a deviled egg?
Oh, I think my favorite is we do something here called ham jam.
Okay.
And then we put ham jam and cornbread on the deviled egg, like cornbread crumbs. It's so good.
Is ham jam what it sounds like? A pork, like a bacon jam almost?
It's almost like bacon jam, just with country ham instead of bacon. It's sweet, salty, buttery.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. Have you ever had a bad one? Do you have a no pineapples on pizza story with deviled eggs?
Not that I can think of. The only thing I hate is just like when people put olives on deviled eggs, but that's about it, I think.
I don't know that I've had a lot of those, but I can see that.
Yeah, that's about it.
I like the salt, but not the other flavors that
Yeah.
kick with them. It doesn't seem like that would work. Well, question number 5. We got here quick. Question number 5 is always stick the landing, and stick the landing is for if people have never been here or if they've never had your catering, what is so special about this place? What separates you from everybody else out there?
I think it's because our food is real. Also, our food is, which I try to keep it as inexpensive as possible. With COVID, that's getting harder because,
Yeah.
PPE and all of that stuff's making our costs go up. But I try to keep real food from, local farms and stuff inexpensive for everyone to come get. I also keep food kind of simple and unpretentious.
Great.
I've noticed or not a lot, but some places you go out to eat and you almost feel uncomfortable because you don't know not necessarily you don't know what's on the menu, it's just their attitude towards what's on the menu,
Yeah.
I guess. So I try to keep it simple, silly, and local.
I love it. Those are all great. I think you guys succeed. Well, again, we'll put up the order here so you can order it and call an order all the way up until the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And otherwise, come grab food here and keep up the good work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, we are. Another episode down. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you to both of my guests for being on the show. Please check out their wine/food, respectively. Join us next week. If you like this, or if you don't like it, either way, like, comment, click on my face somewhere, subscribe, share, tell your friends. If you're listening to this, it's in video. If you're watching this, it's also in audio. Do whatever you like. And we'll see you next week. Till then, chin chin.